Welcome all of you. We are going to discuss about another session. Actually, we are mainly focused for calculation of the combined tax station. Then on this session, previously we did on Sinhala medium. Now we are entirely focused for the English medium, and later we discuss about the question. Right? If on your study guides, chapter 3 mainly cover up these areas. Right? Then actually on this business level BL7 paper basically concern about the foundation and basic understand about the tax compared taxation, right? On your strategic level paper, right, have the little complex area with regard to the compared taxation, right? Then we discuss step by step how and what are the main important things which is related with the compared tax calculations, right? Then this is chapter 3 mainly focused about the basic income tax liability of resident companies, basic income tax liability of the resident companies. Right, if you concern about the syllabus content, right, first one, identify the various type of companies in relations to the application of different tax rate of the Sri Lankan income tax, right. Then explain a specific adjustment applicable for computation of the assessable income of the company, right. Then mainly it has consist with the business income, right. When it is calculating the business income, what are the things mainly we have to focus for the compared taxation we should discuss, right. Then it has include some adjustment with related to the intercompany transactions, as well as we should concern about the transactional provisions, right. Then third one, focus to calculate the taxable income of the company by related with the statutory deductions. Then compute income tax payable by the small and medium size companies. Then at the end we discuss about the transfer pricing applications, basic understanding of the transfer pricing applications, right. Then we move into the step by step basis, right. Then if you concern about the type of companies, right, mainly we can identify the two types, right, resident companies and non-resident companies, right. The company we can divide that resident company and non-resident company. Okay. Then as the normal application, right, then if you are taking the company, this is should be registered under Company Act number 7 of 2007, right. Based on this legal provisions, it has to be registered, right. Then if just registration is not, we concern to decide whether this company is resident company or non-resident companies, right. Basically for the income tax, how we decide, how we identify this company is resident company, this company is non-resident company, right. Basically we focus for the three main areas, three main points, right. One is focus about the registration, right. Then registration of company, right. If this company is registered in Sri Lanka, right, then this one particular conditions we can satisfy, right. But there is no any restrictions, right. Then same company they can register for outside Sri Lanka, then there would be a two different registration, right. Then we can concern about the registered office, principal or registered office, right. Whether this registered or principal office in Sri Lanka, then based on these conditions we can decide this company is a resident company, right. Then sometimes some company they may have two different registered offices on two different countries, right. Sometimes they may have the many registered offices depend on their scale of the business, right, and way of they doing the business, right. Then based on the first two, sometimes we may not possible to decide, right, this company is resident or non-resident. Then third point is we have to concern here. What is the third point, right? Control and management affairs, right? Control and management affairs. If it is exercised in Sri Lanka, then this companies we can take as a Sri Lanka resident companies, right? Then how we identified this company management and control affairs exercise in Sri Lanka or not? Who is take the decisions? Who is take the management decisions? Board of directors take the management decisions, right? If board of directors in Sri Lanka, then we can decide this company is a resident company, right? But sometimes on practical matter, part of the board in Sri Lanka, right, other part he may outside Sri Lanka. On that point, right, again we have to think how we decide on this particular scenarios, right. Out of entire board, who is the key person? Key person is a managing director. If managing director in Sri Lanka and take all the decisions, then we can decide this company is a resident company, right. If this company is resident company, what is the important thing? Any income derived in Sri Lanka or outside Sri Lanka, all the things we have to consider for the Sri Lanka taxation. Wherever arise, we should consider here, right. Sometimes if you concern about the business, investment or other sources, sometimes there may be a income from Sri Lanka, derived from Sri Lanka, right, as well as there would be having some sort of foreign company, foreign branches as well. All the income should be considered for regarding the resident company when we discuss, when we calculate the income tax in Sri Lanka, right. If it is non-resident company, right, if any income arrive or derive from Sri Lanka, only we have to consider, right, only we have to consider, right. If there is any income outside Sri Lanka, if it is not arrive or derive, then we are not possible to consider when we decide in the tax liability for the non-resident companies, right. Likewise, firstly we should decide, we should identify this company is a resident company or non-resident company, right. That is an important point you have to decide here. But anyhow, on your syllabus, mainly focus for the resident companies, right, mainly focus for the resident company, right. We are not supposed to discuss, you need not to focus how we calculate the tax liability for the non-resident companies, right. Then we have to get some idea how we decide taxable income, right, how we decide the taxable income. Right. Then if we recall our memory, right, how we decide total taxable income, how we decide the taxable income, right. Then each sources we should identify the taxable income. Taxable income from business, right. Then taxable income from investment, right. Taxable income from other sources, right. Then here we calculate and identify taxable income for each sources, right. Thereafter we can get the sum value, right? We can get the sum value. This sum value we can call as a total assessable income. Total assessable income. Okay. Out of this total assessable income, we can deduct qualified payment. Qualified payment we can deduct here, right? But normally on normal format, we can take qualified payment and relief, right? But for regarding the company, directly we can take, right, deducting the qualified payment. Why? Relief is only relevant for the individual person, right? Then finally, we can decide the taxable income. Taxable income, right? We can decide the taxable income. Okay. Likewise, step by step, we should decide it. Right? Simply we can get this idea, but for entire calculations, what you have to do is separately you should decide how we arrive the assessable income from business, how we arrive the assessable income from investment. If there is anything that would be related with the other sources, we should consider. If any fixed base, recurring nature income, if it is received other than the business or investment, then we should consider here, right? Likewise, we can identify how we decide the taxable income, right? How we decide the taxable income, right? Then if you concern about the resident company, right, when you decide in those assessable income, right, sometimes those may be derived from Sri Lanka, right? Sometimes those may be arise or derived from outside Sri Lanka, right? Outside Sri Lanka. Okay. Likewise, then we can identify all the income which is arrived to the particular companies, right? It normally called as a global income, right? Global income we should consider. Firstly, we should identify the gross value, then we have to make the adjustment, then we can convert it as a assessable income for each sources, then we can arrive to the total assessable income, right? This is a format, right? We have to use it. Right. Then small idea we try to get about the qualified payment. I think those are already we discussed, right, many times, right? If anything we need to especially discuss here, like later step by step we can discuss, right? I will start with the qualified payment, right? On this qualified payment, mainly we can identify the two applications, right? Then first one I mentioned as IR Act number 24 of 2017, right? On this act, mainly we have the three qualified payment, right? One is a donations to approved charity, Second one is donation to the government institution, right? Third one is a profit remit to President Fund, right? These three we can identify it as a qualified payment, right? These three we can identify it as a qualified payment. Okay. On this qualified payment, right, within this particular year we can deduct it, but if there is any excess, there is no any options to carry forward for the next period, right? Within this particular period, if you claim, right, you can use it for the calculation. If it is not so, then we have to take as expired deductions available, right? Then on this donations to the approved charity for related with the company, right, there is a threshold limit we should consider. What is the threshold limit? 1/5 of taxable income or 500,000, right? On this donations to approved charity, 1/5 of taxable income or 500,000. Whichever is lower, we should identify the limitations, right? Then you may think how we identified 1/5 of taxable income. 1/5 of taxable income. How we identified? Why? We are going to calculate the taxable income, right? But still here, how we decide? How we decide 1/5 of taxable income without calculating taxable income, right? Then mathematically we can handle it actually, right? Then firstly whatever the other things we deducted, finally we identify the value at last, then we should make the adjustment mathematically, right? Instead of taking 1/5 of taxable income, right? Whatever the balance amount, we use the 1/4 of taxable income. Likewise, then we can make the calculations, right, and arrive the value for related with the threshold limit, right? But basically, if value is little higher, right, rather compare with the 500,000, directly you can decide 500,000 would be a lowest value. But if any case, if value is little tied up with the limitations, right, definitely you have to calculate it, right? Definitely you have to calculate. Little complicated, but you have to think how we can manage mathematically, right? Then we can use it, right? Let's I will just show it how we can do, right? Let's think taxable income is 100 rupee, okay, 100 rupee. Then out of this 100 rupee, we should take the 1/5 value, right? Then 20. Here value would be 120, right? Value before deducting the donations to the approved charity, right? If I take this value, how we can do that, right? Then here I am going to deduct the 20, then it is arrived to the 100, right? If you take ratio here 1/5, but if you take other side, it should be as a 1/6 value, right? Likewise, then you can identify how it can be arise. But on this point, we can't find out this value. This is not available, right? Out of by using this 120, we are going to calculate about the deductible limitations, right? Likewise, we can manage these deductions, right? The second one, donations to the government, no limitations, 100% you can deduct it. Only limitations you have to consider whether you may have available balance to deduct it. Why? After deducting those qualified payment, right? After deducting those qualified payment, ultimately there should not be any minus value, right? Either 0 or plus value should be reflecting on the taxable income, right? That concern you have to have within that, right? 100% amount you can deduct it, okay? Then third one is profit remit to the president fund. It is also no limitations, right? Whatever the value you can deduct it, but only thing is that you have to concern whether remaining value is enough to deduct that amount, right? But second part is related with the brought forward value, right? Brought forward value. Right, here we can mention remaining qualified payment as at 1st April 2008, right? Remaining value, right? If you remember, as a previous law, right, number 10 of 2006, under section 34, right, there is a provisions if there is a some items, some qualified items, right, then it has providing some sort of provisions to carry forward. Some items without any limitations you can carry forward, right. On those items still maybe remain here, right. But as a transitional provision, right, as a transitional provision issued by the department, there was a gazette notification, right. Based on these gazette notifications, then still you can continue with that applications, right. On this gazette notification especially say that if any item which was addressed on this gazette notification is allowed to make the adjustment. If it is not so, then you have to adapt for the new provision of new Inland Revenue Act, right. Gazette notification number 2064/53 dated 1st April 2018. 1st April 2018. It was mentioned, right, whatever the for regarding the remaining balance, right, section 34, provision of section 34 of number 10 of 2006 is still applicable until claim the entire remaining value, right. Therefore, you may have some sort of identifications what are the things would be applicable from the previous provisions, right. If you see your study guides, right, then it has mentioned what are the things you can take as a government donations to the government, right. Then local donations to the local authorities and higher education institution, right. Then a fund established by the government of Sri Lanka, right. Fund established by the local authorities, provincial council, right. Sevana fund, National Housing Development Authority, it was established, right. Then Apiyunapi fund, National Kidney funds. Those are the few funds and institutions especially mentioned for regarding the donations to the government, right. Then we took a comprehensive idea about the how we arrive the qualified payment, right. Then you can identify taxable income, right. You can identify the taxable income. Right. As a study guide, right, 1.3 and 1.4 onward, right, there should be some sort of reference with the specific area in the tax calculation, company tax calculation, right. Then if you concern about the source of income, right, some specific thing now we can discuss it, right. Basically, if you take the business income, right. Here we take assessable income from business, right. Then basically we can identify there is a two end, one is a inclusion, right, second one is a exclusion. Inclusion means profit or income, exclusion means expenses, right. Then based on the inclusions we can identify it, right, section 6 is applicable for the business, right. Then based on this we can identify it, what are the things we should concern especially, right. When it is deciding, when it this inclusion, right, any exempt amount, then any final withholding payment, if any amount already considered under the employment income we can exclude it and identify the value. Sometimes it may be reflecting about the service fee, consideration for the trading allowance, stocks, then gift received, right, any income which is related with disposal of asset, disposal of capital asset, right. Likewise, based on the provisions we can categorize what would be the inclusions for this calculation, right. And exclusion side, mainly we can divide it for 3 areas. One is a section 10, other one is a section 11 here, right. Other one simply I identified as specific provisions, specific deductions, right, section 12 to 19 and 24, right. Other things, right, 25 to 30 also applicable, but those are the specific areas, right. In section 10 we normally identify it as general deductions, right. Sections 11 we identified as main deductions, right. Likewise we can categorize. On section 10 mainly discuss about the disallowable items, disallowable expenses mainly discuss, right. Some specific point also it has discussed, right, for regarding the expense if really applicable and required to deduct the withholding tax, if it is not deducted, and there would be a restrictions to not to deduct, right. Likewise some specific things discussed, but mainly it has focused to discuss about the disallowable deductions, right. Then section 11, right, it has focus for main 3 conditions here. What are the conditions? First one, incurred during the period. Incurred during the period, right. Second one, incurred for the production of income, right. When they earn in their main income, right, those expense should be essential, right. Then those deductions expense we can take as incurred for the production of income. The right last one is should not a capital nature income expense, right. If those main thing it is considered, whether it is incurred for the production of income, whether it is incurred for the particular year of assessment, and it should not be a capital nature deductions, right. If those condition is satisfied, then they can take as a main deductions, right. Then if you concern about specific deductions, what is mean of specific? Sometimes mainly, right, if you concern about the third point of here, right, when it is considered here, most of the time these conditions would be break, right. Then due to some specific deductions, specific conditions, sometimes even in the capital nature deductions would be allowed under the specific deductions, right, due to certain condition is satisfied, okay. Right, section 12, right, I am not supposed to discuss in detail, but just get the small idea, right. Then sections 12 is related with the interest expenses, right. When it is concerned about the company, right, it should be further consider, it is not isolatedly consider, we should take together 12 and 18 and consider how we should concern about the deductions, right. Later I discuss about the section 18 with relate to the company taxation, right. Section 18 concern about the finance cost, section 12 concern about the interest expenses. But if you concern about the other than the company, no issue, right? Isolatedly you can apply, consider the section 12. Under section 12, if even if those interest expense it like a capital nature, but if it is related or incurred for the production of income, then it should be allowed to deduct it. Sometimes then company may purchase or take the asset, capital asset to use for the production of income, right? On that point, if there is any interest expense, it is even if it is a capital nature, those expense can be allowed to deduct it, right? And likewise, even if the capital nature expenses allowed to deduct under section 12 and 18, right? But if there is no section 12 and 18, what would be the applications? Under section 11, right? Then there would be a restrictions, it is not allowed to deduct. Why? Those are capital nature expenses, right? Capital nature expenses, right? Other concept you have to remember, right? If any case, if section 10 and specific deductions are not applicable, mainly we have to concern about the section 11. Mainly we have to concern about the main deductions, right? If especially apply section 10 or main deductions or general deductions and specific deductions, then we sometimes it may be refer, but mainly we have to decide those expense can be deduct or not based on the section 10 and specific deductions, right? Okay, then section section 13 concern about the allowance for trading stocks. It more or less similar with the cost of sales, but on this provision of that, right, tax profit should be calculated on deduct method, right? On other side we concern about all the income, right? On deduction side concern about each and every deductions. And if you refer with the accounting applications, right, only one difference we can identify with relate to the allowance for trading stocks, right? Normally if you recall your memory how we can decide the cost of sales, right, we can start with the opening balance, then we can deduct in the we can add the cost of purchases, right, then thereafter we can deduct closing balance value, right, value for the closing balance, then we can identify the cost of sales for the accounting purpose. How we decide the cost of closing balance? How we decide the closing balance? Basically we have to count it, right, then we apply the value of the items, okay. When it is identified the value, we have to compare cost and market value, whichever is lower we should take under LKRS 2, right, whichever is lower we should consider, right, by referring with cost of these particular items and net realizable value, net realizable value. How we decide the net realizable value? Market value minus expected selling expenses which should be incurred up to converted to the saleable conditions, right. Likewise we can decide the minimum value, and by applying with the physical quantity available, then we can decide the closing stocks value for the accounting purpose, right. But if you concern about taxation, how we decided? Formula is same, but only one difference we have, right. If you concern about the formula, we can start with the opening balance value, right, then we can add in the cost of purchases same as accounts, right. Then at the end we have to deduct the closing stocks value, right. Nothing difference by concern about the format, but only one thing we have to decide it, right. When we decide in the closing stocks value, we only concern about the market value. It was not concerned about the any expenses would be incurred to convert for the saleable conditions, right. For the taxations we only refer with the market value, to decide the closing stocks, but if you are concerned about the accounts, we should consider net realizable value and cost, whichever is low. That is the only difference we have, right. Then section 14, right, there is a small theory revision type discussion here, right. Then with that, I think you may catch the what are the important areas for your study, right. Then section 14 is related with repair and maintenance, right, repair and maintenance. It is also like repair is okay, right, it like a revenue nature expenses, but if you are concerned about the improvements, it is like a capital nature expenses, alright, irrespective of capital nature or not, right, when it is identified the section 14, we can consider, right, we can consider, right. Then based on the depreciation base at the end of the previous year, right, we can apply the threshold value. Up to that extent, they can deduct the repair and improvements. If you concern about the building and permanent structure, only up to 5% of the previous year end depreciation basis we can consider, but other than that, up to 20% can be considered for these limitations, right. By calculating with that upper limit threshold, up to that extent they can deduct it, right. Whatever the excess repair and improvements, what we have to do is we should add into the depreciation basis at the beginning of the next period, right. But this repair and improvements we can't calculate it isolated with the section 14. We have to refer with the section 16 as well, section 16 as well, right. Then by connected with the capital allowances and repair and improvements, we should decide it, right. But practical manner it may not easy. While each and every asset you should decide, right, what would be the capital allowance and what would be the repair and improvements can be deducted, right. Those are the things should be considered here, right. Then if you concern about the section 16, right, based on the class of the asset we can decide capital allowances, right. 5 classes available, right. Based on these 5 classes we can decide it, right. Other than building and class 4 related with the building and permanent structure, right. If there is any additions after 1st April 2018, we can deduct capital allowance within the 20 years period, equal terms, but it may be difference with implication of section 14. Why? If there is any balance excess from repair and improvement should be added to the depreciation basis of the particular asset, then capital allowance value would be changed, right. And class 5 related with the intangible asset. Sometimes it may be a trademark, software, right, brand name, those are we can take under that category, okay. If it is intangible asset, then we can concern about the actual useful lifetime. If there is no actual useful lifetime, that means it can be used for indefinite period, then without concern about the useful lifetime, sometimes it may not be available, right. Then we can take the capital allowance within the 20 years. Other than that, all other asset, right, that means asset related with the class 1 to 3, within 5 years we can claim the capital allowances, right. Then basically under this section 16 you have to concern about the disposal of asset, right. If it is disposal of asset, sometimes it may be creating the profit, sometimes it may be creating the loss, right. If it is creating the profit, then it is considered or identified as assessable charge, it should be liable for tax, right? Basically, simple calculations we can decide the profit or loss. Then we can start with this share price, then we are deducting the written down value, then we can identify the plus or minus value. If it is plus value, we can consider as a assessable charge profit. If it is minus value, then we should consider as a balance allowance, right? Okay. Then section 15. Section 15 concern about the research and development expenses or agricultural startup expenses, right? Both are like capital nature expenses, right? Though there is the restrictions on section 11, it is not applicable under section 15 if any expenses is possible to categorize and under the research and development or agricultural startup, right? There was a definitions, right? With that definitions you can identify what would be the expense take under this category, right? In addition to that, right, here there is a applications for schedule 6 under temporary concession, right? It was deductions available for first 3 years time from 18-19 year. If there is a research and development, you can take another 100% deductions, right, based on the R&D, right. Then section 17, right. On this section 17 mainly focus about the losses incurred from asset and liabilities, right. It like a capital nature losses, right. Due to realization of asset and liabilities, it would be create some losses. And basically if you only apply the section 10, section 11 and main deduction, it is not allowed to deduct it. Why? Those are we can take as a capital nature expenditure, right, losses. But as a section 17, even it is capital nature, if those item is incurred or utilized for the production of income, right, whatever the losses incurred from the asset and liability can be considered under section 17, right. Then section 18 especially we are discussed later, right. Section 18 we are supposed to discuss later, right. Then section 19 with regard to the losses, right. There would be a specific application for the losses. Previous law there was not such a requirement to separate losses for separate categories, but as a new provisions, right, we should separate losses based on the ratio, without that classifications or categorization, right, it is not possible to apply the required conditions, right. Right. Then if any losses from business or investment can be deducted, if there is any excess amount, right, you can carry forward for the next 6 years time, right. Within this 6 years it is possible to claim, right, and there would be some sort of applications or requirement, right. If there is any business loss, we can deduct from another business profit or investment profit. But if there is any investment profit, is only deduct from the investment. If there is any investment loss, if only deduct from the investment profit. But it is not possible to shift to the business side. It is a one conditions, right. Within the business side, if there is any losses which has created from higher rate, can be shifted to the lower rate side. But if any losses creating from the lower rate, is not possible to bring it to the higher rate side. That is the second conditions. Okay. Then third one is that if there is any loss created which related to the exempt items income, right, it should be deduct only from the exempt profit, Okay. Fourth condition is that if there is any loss created from the disposal or realization of investment asset, it is not possible to deduct from the profit which is arise from the realization of investment asset, right. Likewise, there would be having some sort of rules, right. Those are the rules you have to remember, right. Then with that concern, actually you can decide up to what extent you can apply this particular section, right. I suggest you, right, then better if you can possible, right, you can download company tax return for 1920, right. Then how you can download? If you log into the department web portal www.ird.gov.lk, right, then you can click in on this download under this returns and form, then separate place to download the return and respective schedules, right. You download and see how losses can be deducted, right. With that referring with that document, definitely you can get something for regarding your exam purpose. Actually, this understanding is understanding with regard to the return also would be the more value additions, and you upgrade your knowledge regarding the company taxation, right. Then we can discuss some extent, but we have to discuss about section 25 as well, right. Section 24 is related with the written off and disclaimers. Disclaimer means provisions, right, either for bad debts or other balances, right. If there is a written off balances or disclaimers provisions is allowed to deduct if there is a reasonable step taken to recover those balances, right. If they take the reasonable steps, right, then it is allowed to deduct when it is decided the business profit, right. But same times, if there is any recoverables recovered, then at the point of recovered, those written off balances or disclaimers should be taken as income, right. Likewise, those things can be decided, right. Simply I will just discuss about the business calculations, right. Then if you refer with the video for the business income, right, you can further get knowledge and you can update with your knowledge, and basically it is more important area with regard to the business income. Why? If you concern about the company taxation, if you concern about the individual, partnership, other institutions, right, everywhere business income is a main topic you have to consider, right. On your MCQ paper, right, there may be many questions which are related with the business income. Therefore, very important, you have to get proper understanding about the business income, right. On this syllabus, right, study packs chapter 2 is refer with related with this study of the business income. Okay. Then we can discuss about the finance cost, right. Under business income, right, we little further discuss about the section 18, section 18, okay. Finance cost, right. On this section 18, right, there is a requirement we should identify the maximum limit to claim the finance cost. How we can decide it, right, there is a formula A into B, right. Then what is mean A? A mean, right, share capital plus reserves, right, share capital plus reserves. B mean, right, if manufacturing company 3 times, if other than manufacturing 4 times, right. Likewise, we can identify the A and B, right. A into B up to that extent, right, allowed to claim the finance cost attributable to the financial instrument, right. But it has not mentioned about under section 418, it is directly applicable for the company only. But if you concern about calculation, right, share capital and reserves only available in the company, right, only available in company, right. Therefore, right, this section 18 is directly applicable for company taxation, right. That is why we should concern about this only for company taxation, right. Finance cost, it is commonly identified as a thin capitalization. This is applicable to the business or investment income, right. Whatever the applications should be considered for business and investment income here. Investment income, right. Amount of finance cost attributable to financial instrument is to be limited to the formula A and B. A mean total issue share capital plus reserves other than the revaluations reserves. Why it is not take the revaluation? Revaluation is decided by the management of the company. Depending on the requirement, sometimes they revalue and increase the reserves, right. It is not allowed. B mean number of 3 for manufacturing company entity, number 4 related with the other companies. How we decide this company is manufacturing or not, right. Out of their total turnover, more than 50% reflect in the manufacturing, right. It take as a manufacturing company, right. Any residual of finance cost that would not be deducted for year can be carried forward for next 6 years time, right. After calculating this limitation, if there is any excess value, this excess value is only options we have, we can carry forward for the next 6 years time, right. This is a simple idea about this, right. I just get the small example to get a idea about here, right. Okay, right. Share capital, let us think 5 million, right. Then reserves shall take another 5 million. Okay. This company is a manufacturing company. Manufacturing company. Okay. Long term loan shall we take as 40 million, right. Finance cost shall we take as 4 million, right. This is the details available. Example. Okay. Then how we calculate the value here? How we calculate the value, right? Firstly, we should identify the limitations, of financial instrument. Okay, limitation of financial instrument. How we decided? Share capital plus reserves into, this is the manufacturing company, therefore 3 times, right. Share capital is 5 million, plus reserves is another 5 million here, into 3, 30 million. Up to 30 million, no any issue, right, they can take the finance cost. But on this case, they have 40 million balance, right. Then we can decide disallowable finance cost. How we decide? Finance cost into excess amount of financial instrument divide total value of financial instrument. On this case, how we can decide it, right? 4 million into 30 million, sorry, excess value is 10 million, right, divided 40 million, right, 40 million. Okay. Then ultimately we can decide value is 1 million, right. This 1 million is not allowed to deduct as expenses. When they decide in the business profit, what we have to do is we have to disallow this 1 million, right. But normally if you start with accounting profit, already they deduct entire 4 million, right. After calculating this value, then finally decide, right, this would be a disallowable component should be removed from this calculation, right. Likewise, we can identify what would be the value attributable to the allowable limit of the finance instrument, right. Right. Next point we supposed to discuss under 1.5 of your study guides, right, regarding the assessable income of the investment. Right. Then when we calculate the assessable income from the investment, few things we can highlight for the company, right. Right. One applications related with interest income. Okay. What is the important thing for the company? Right. Then company would receive the net interest income. Right. Then normally they deduct 5% withholding tax. But if you concern about the person, right, up to the 31st December 2019, it was taken as a final tax paid income, right. But for related with the company, right, from 1819 onward, right, then whatever the deductions taken for interest income, right, as a withholding tax should be added back and calculate the value, right. Let's think, right, here 9.5 million they received net interest, right. Then what we have to do is we have to add in back withholding tax, right. How we add back the withholding tax, how we identify the withholding tax? Here we can use divide on 95 into 5, right. Then we identified here withholding tax value should be a 500,000. Then finally we can decide 10 million would be a gross interest income. This 10 million value should be considered for the tax calculation for the companies, right. Then what would be the application for this 500,000? This 500,000 we can use as a tax credit, okay, we can use as a tax credit, right. And sometimes if there is any treasury bills and bond, right, if there is any treasury bills and bond, then basically what we have to do is before 1st April 2018 there was a upfront withholding tax payment, right, at the point of issuing these treasury bills and bond government securities. Then central bank collecting the withholding tax, right. On the market there was no any application for the withholding tax, but for the calculation purpose we identified notional tax credit, but with effect from 1st April 2018 there was no such applications. What we have to do is this not apply withholding tax, but they receive the gross amount, right. There is no more further application about the notional tax credit with effect from 1st April 2018, right. Then if you concern about the dividend, dividend income, right. Normally dividend income would be received as a net value. That means when they declare the dividend, when company declare the dividend, normally they should deduct 14% dividend tax. That is the normal requirement. But sometimes, right, sometimes some cases they may declare the dividend without deducting 14% withholding tax, dividend tax, right. If both situation, right, we should separately identify it. But when we discuss this dividend income, again we should discuss for related with the 1920, right, 1920, right, we should discuss first 9 months, that means 1st April 2019 to December 31st December 2019, right. Within 9 months period we should separately consider. Then second 3 months, that means 1st January 2020 to 31st March 2020, right. Likewise those period we should separately identify. Why we have to separately identify first 9 months, right? It is considered under section 88. What would be the section 88? Final withholding payment, right. Previously up to 31st December 2019, if any company, if they receive the dividend after deducting withholding tax, it is not included in the taxable income, but anyhow, right, taxable, it is not included the taxable income. If it is received as a net dividend, it take as a final tax paid income. If any case, if they receive the gross dividend, it is also take as a final withholding payment, but only thing is that receiver company, they should pay tax on final withholding payment by applying the 14% same dividend tax rate. But if you concern about the second 3 months, right, dividend income remove from the section 88, right, then it is become a normal applications, right. Dividend income should be a part and parcel of the assessable income, taxable income, right. Then what happen, right, if any case, if they receive the net dividend, here net dividend, let's think 95,000, sorry, 86,000 here, okay, should add in back withholding tax at 14%, right, 14,000 should be at, then 100,000 should be considered for tax. This the gross value should be liable tax, right. What is the application for 14,000? This 14,000 should be taken as a tax credit, okay, right. Likewise, we can identify what would be the different application for this regarding the 9 months and 3 months period. But only thing is that you have to remember this 9 months and 3 months is applicable for 1920 period, right. After 1920, that means 2021, simply you have to adapt for the this normal applications, right. Right. Next one is related with the rent income. Okay. This rent income is considered under the investment income. But is there any possibility to deduct 25% relief? Relief is not relevant for the company, right? It is only relevant for the individual person. But normally, when rent income is paid, payer would be deducting 10% withholding tax. If any case, if it is received as a net rent income, what they have to do is, they should add in back 10% withholding tax amount, then gross amount should be considered for tax calculation. But only important point is that with that company taxation, this rent income would be effectively connected with business, right. Sometimes it may be a investment income. That identification is more important, not only the rent income, right. Sometimes other investment income also it may be relevant, right. Let us think sometimes this particular building used for their business purpose, right, business purpose. Then temporarily there was some vacant area, it was provided for rent and receive the rent income, okay. Then this rent income simply we should take under the investment income, but if it is effectively connected with the business, right, effectively connected with the business, then this rent income we should take under the business income, right. Likewise, if it is effectively connected with the business, we should consider. But for other investment asset also we can consider on that way, right, on for regarding interest income if related with some term deposit like short term deposit due to short term excess they deposited and received the interest income. But those interest income we should not be identified under the investment income. Why? It is effectively connected with the business. Due to temporary shortage, they invest and get the benefit or income. This income should be connected with the business. But if there is any long term deposit, right, if deposited by investment motives, whatever the interest received, there is not any doubt, right, we can take under the investment income. Right, then we discuss main part which related with the calculation of assessable income from business, investment and other. Right, now we are in the calculation of tax liability. Okay. Calculation of tax liability. Okay. Right, how we decided? Tax liability equal taxable income into tax rate, right, tax rate. This is one way. Okay. Another way is that, right, receipt of final withholding payment, right, but there is a condition, if received as gross amount, right, then apply relevant withholding tax rate, then we can identify the taxes, tax on receipt of final withholding payment, right. Okay. Then with that sum value we can take as a tax liability, right, tax liability. Then up to 31st December 2019, right, dividend is applicable for company and winning from lottery is applicable for company. But after 1st April 2020, only winning from lotteries, betting and gambling is we can take under the final withholding payment, right. Simply we can have good understand about taxable income, right. Now we can just make some concern about how we decide the tax rate, right. Then basically we can identify it, right, standard rate, right, and higher rate and concession rate. Right, those three areas we should concern, right. Then if you concern about the standard rates, right, if you calculate tax liability for 1920, okay, then up to 31st December 2019, right, we can apply 28%, here up to 28%, okay, right. Then beyond that, then presently we have to apply 24%, okay. Likewise we can differently identify this application, right. On this time, right, your exam may be focused for the 1920. On that point, right, you have to consider these applications. We supposed to have different separate session for this, right. Then how we can segregate, what are the important things you have to concern with, especially for the 1920, right. Then after that, right, 2021, no issue, right, we can apply 24%. But on this 1920 period, especially you have to concern, right, how we can identify it separately and how we can apply the 28% or 24%, right. Then concession rate would apply for 14%, right, 14%. Then up to the 31st December 2019, there is no any other concession rate is applicable, but after that there would be another few rates is implemented. Right, on your study guides, right, 1.7 under chapter 3, 1.7 is especially considered for this tax rate. Okay. Then higher rate is applicable for any business, any company which is engaged for betting and gambling and liquor and tobacco business, right. Then if excluding such income which is merely incidental to the another business, right. If directly connected with those business, no issue, right, definitely you have to apply the 14%. If it is not directly connected with the liquor, tobacco, betting and gambling business, right, you can separate it and I apply the 28% rate, right. Then concession rate, only one rate is relevant up to 31st December 2019, it is a 14%. Thereafter we can discuss what are the other rate is applicable, right. And if you basically depend on this 1920, right, we have to discuss little more about the rate applicable up to 31st December 2019. Okay. Right. First one is related with small and medium enterprises, right. Then rate for small and medium enterprises. Okay. Then 14%. Okay. Then when it is apply this ratio, right, mainly we have to concern about few conditions here, right. Mainly we can identify the 3 conditions, right. Then turnover would be less than 5 million, these are one conditions, right. Second one is business carried out solely in Sri Lanka. Right. Third one is not a associated entity, right. Then only we can apply 14% tax rate. But if any company if not comply with that conditions, there is no any options to apply this 14% concession rate. Okay. Right. Then the second part is concerned about the having specific applications for predominantly conducting some specific business, specific undertaking, right. What is mean predominantly conducting? But predominantly conducting mean if any company, if they consist with more than 80%, from this specific undertaking, right, then we can take as this company is predominantly conducting this particular business. Just we take one example for export. If this company is doing the export, mainly export, but they would be having 15%, nearly 50% local sale as well, right. Then but if you concern about entire, right, nearly 85% consists with the export turnover, right. This more than the 80%, then we can take, right, this company is predominantly conducting the export business, right. Likewise, some specific areas actually identified, right, those area it can be considered for this application, but you have to remember this is applicable up to 31st December 2019. That means first 9 months of the 19-20 year we can consider. Thereafter there would be a separate application for this rates, right. Later we discuss with one session how it can be managed, right. Then some of them I can refer, right. If you refer with the study guide, actually you can identify what are the things we can take here, right. Then entry port trading and offshore businesses, then some front end services to the client abroad, then headquarters operations on leading buyers of management of finance, supply chain and building operations, logistic services, transshipment operations, then freight forwarding, right, then supply of services to the exporters, right. Those are we can identify some of them, right. Better you can refer with that, and especially with regard to the agricultural products, right. If an educational service, some export, right, tourist promotion of tourism, those are also we can take under this list, right. And information technology, right. Likewise, some specific applications with regard to this application, right. But after 1st January 2020, right, those predominantly concept is not relevant, right. Thereafter, based on the specific undertaken, separately you have to calculate the profit or loss, right. Then you can apply the consideration rate, right. Okay. Later we discuss one session, right, how 1920 and is relevant specific adjustment for second 3 months, right. Right, now we are in the 1.8 transactional provisions, right. Few applications here we discuss, right. Actually, firstly you have to get identified what is the relevancy for transactional provisions, right. Then easily you can remember how those things is applicable for the calculations, right. But very initial years this was important, thereafter there is no any much more applications, right. Transitional provisions, right. Let's think with effect from 1st April 2018 apply, right, impose new Unilateral Act number 24 of 2017, right. Up to this point we consider, we apply number 10 of 2006 Act. These are different applications, right. Then if you concern about some items like losses, allowance for depreciations, Then some tax credit like ESC, carry forward balances, then notional tax credit, carry forward balances, some qualified payments, right. Likewise some exemptions available, then concession rate applications, right. Likewise some applications only related up to this point, right, thereafter they may not possible to use it. Why? After that there was no further provision is applicable with due to abolish the previous act, right. But there would be some sort of issue with the taxpayer side, right. One side the department provide the benefit for those type of carrying value by issuing the transitional provision gazette notifications, right. Other side, right, within the tax legislation there is a separate schedule 6, right. Through the schedule 6 try to provide some sort of adjustment for the temporary basis. Likewise try to mitigate those impact, right, due to not providing exemption and all that for the new Inland Revenue Act, right. On this applications here, right, issue the gazette notification, it is called as a gazette notice number 64/53, right, dated on 1st April 2018. With effect from this date we should consider about this gazette notification, right. But until that adjustment is completed, this is valid, thereafter no more validity. Some of them items within the 3 years they should entirely completed, right. If you concern about the NTC, within 3 years they should claim and thereafter there is no provisions to carry forward further, right. Likewise some sort of adjustment we should concern here, right. Then there is a few reference here on your study guide, right, under 1.8, under 1.8, right, few things we discuss here, right. One thing is related with the concession rate under Inland Revenue Act number 10 of 2006, 59D, 59I, 59K, 59J, 59L, 59M. Likewise some concession rate is further applicable until complete the balance period. That means then before 2 years they started the concession rate applications, right. It is applicable for the 5 years time. Up to that extent, right, only claim only consider 2 years, further 3 years remain, right. Then how it is considered? Then as a transitional provision, remaining 3 years, unexpired 3 years also consider under the same provision as a previous income tax law, right. Then if you concern about the tax exemption like 16C, 16D, 16E, 17, 17A, 18, 20, 24A, likewise those are the section, right. Then those section is still applicable until complete the unexpired period, right. Then if you concern about the BOI, based on the BOI law, right, they provide exemption and concession rate as a BOI agreement under section 17 of BOI law, it has provided, right. Then when it is change the tax law, still it is applicable, relevant, right, until complete that period they can continue. Let's think as the BOI law, right, 10 years exempt from the income tax. On that point only 8 years completed, right. then without any harm, right, they can continue up to 10 years, right, another 2 years time allowed it, right. Likewise, some adjustment is provided, right, those prevailing application is allowed by referring with the transitional provisions. Right. If you refer with your study guides, right, on page number 69 was provided some example, just we discuss those things, and we can get the idea about this, right. Then first one, computation of tax on taxable income. Aurelia Supply Limited is engaged in business of import and supply of printing materials. This company does not have any associate, right. They are is a isolated company. They engage only the operation, carried out their business solely in Sri Lanka. You are required to calculate the income tax payable for year of assessment 1819 under each situations given below. Annual gross turnover is 347,850,000, and taxable income is 15,141,000, right. Then second, annual gross turnover is rupees 672,732,000, and taxable income is rupees 34,657,000, right. These are the informations we should provide it. Then based on this we can decide what would be the application for this rate, right. Then we take separate two scenarios, right. First one, their turnover is less than 500 million, right. Then this is the isolated company, it is not an associate company. Then they are conducting or carried out their business solely in Sri Lanka. Then they can apply 14% tax rate. Why? This company is a small and medium enterprises. Those main three conditions is satisfied, and they can apply the 14% rate. But if you concern about the second scenario, their turnover is 672 million, right. On this case, if you concern about the turnover is more than 500 million. Therefore, if there is any other application, it is okay, but under SMB sector it is not possible to apply 14%. They should apply 28% up to the 31st December 2019. Thereafter they should apply 24%, right. Then next example related with actually it is focused for the group of companies. Then taxable income of the three companies in the Ratmal group of companies for year of assessment 1819 are given below. All the companies are engaged in manufacturing activities, and annual gross turnover is all three companies remaining below the 500 million. But they are conducting the business solely in Sri Lanka. Their turnover is less than 500 million, but these three companies associate companies. Right. Okay. Then calculate the tax payable on taxable income for year of assessment 1890, right. Then how we can do that, right. On this same study guide include the suggested answers. Though their turnover is less than 500 million, we can't categorize as a small and medium enterprises. Why? These companies associate with the other companies. Therefore, we should apply 28% up to 31st December 2019. Thereafter, we should apply 24%, right. Right. Next example. Right. SCI Private Limited on a SCIS International School in Colombo, right? Taxable income of the company for year of assessment 1819, rupees 10 million. It include 1 million interest from the call deposit made in bank, right? This out of their total income, then only 1 million reflect in the interest income, right? Up to 31st December 2018, predominantly concept is applicable. Out of their total income, more than 80% reflecting from this particular specific undertaking, then entire income should be applied the concession rate, right? On this case, what happened, right? Their taxable income is 10 million, out of which only 1 million we can identify as a income from call deposit, right? Though there is a interest income, for if this company is predominantly conducting the educational business, therefore we should apply 14% tax rate, okay. Right, likewise we can get some idea how we can decide for which ratio should be applicable based on the specific identifications, right. Then I move into the balance tax calculations. How we can do that, right? Then after deciding the tax liability, then we can deduct the tax credit, right? Then we can decide the tax credit. Based on this tax credit deductions, then finally we can decide the final answer here, right? Right. Here gross income tax payable, right, we can identify it. This would be consist with tax on taxable income, right, or tax on receipt of final withholding payment, right, payment, okay. These two consist with the gross income tax payable, out of which then here we can deduct tax credit, okay, tax credit. Then we can decide the final answer, right. Balance tax payable or refund due, right. Refund due means if final answer would be a plus or minus, right, this would be a plus or minus. If it is plus value, further value should be paid by the taxpayer. If it is minus value, right, department should be refund to the taxpayer. That is a identification here, right. Then what are the things we can take as a tax credit here? What are things we can take as a tax credit, right? At the source, sometimes you already paid withholding tax. Sometimes it for related with the investment items and for the business income, right. Those withhold tax deduction should be considered, right. Then there would be any other relief. Sometimes some foreign tax credit available, right. Then ESC credit available, then notional tax credit would be available, right. Then CGT capital gain tax credit would be available. Why capital gain also we should consider under here, right. And tax payment, installment payment we can consider here, right. Likewise, those tax credit, available tax credit should be considered, then thereafter then we can decide the final value, right. Thereafter we can decide the final value, right. Right. On this case, right, then for regarding the NTSA, right, there would be a special applications on transactional provision. Right. Earlier also I mentioned, right, then up to 31st March 2018, there was applications with regard to the upfront withholding tax for government securities. Okay. On that point, at those days, right, then central bank deduct withholding tax, and on later stage for the secondary market there was no any withhold tax applications, but anyhow depend on the interest income received, then taxpayer can be identify the notional tax credit, right. They only have the auditor certificates. Okay. But after 1st April 2018, right, there was no further applications. There was no further application with regard to the notional tax credit. But only one points we have to consider, right, notional tax adjustment is remaining and credit would be remain. On transitional provisions, this credit would be only allowed to carry forward up to the 3 years time. Within 3 years, whatever the excess amount as at 31st March 2018 should be set off with the liability. Thereafter, those credit is not allowed further carry forward, right. That is a point we have to consider here, right. Then if there is any value remain, right, those remaining value should be set off with the liability within 3 years. That means 3 years mean 1819, 1920 and 2021, right. This is the applications we should consider. Right. On this study guide there would be a separate example, right, but I am not supposed to discuss this one on singular medium recordings. If you can see, right, how it can be calculated, same times you can use the study materials as well, right. Then later, right, on our second session we are discuss about the one particular company tax question. With that we try to get further understand about how we calculate the company taxation. Then finally we can get the good understand, and with that identification understanding easily you can focus for the MCQ questions, right. Then now I am moving to the last point on the company taxation, right, transition, then transfer pricing adjustment here, right. Only basic understanding we should take with regard to the transfer pricing, right. Right. Transfer pricing, right. Then mainly this transfer pricing as our present provisions we can separately identify for international transaction and for local transaction, right. These are two different applications. Major concern about the international transaction, within the country, right, even if there is a transfer pricing, if it is not much impact for the tax calculations, right, no need to much concern for the tax angle, right. Then let's think, right, there are two different companies A and B, both are apply the same tax rate, right. There is no much more tax benefit even if there is a transfer pricing adjustment is not concerned, right. On this particular provision also it is allowed. There is no much more tax impact due to not having arm's length price between those undertaking, right. Then no need to make the adjustment for this. But if you concern about the international transfer pricing, if it is not much concern, right, there would be a revenue less for tax collections, right. That is why mainly it is concerned about the international transaction, right. Right, according to the arm's length principles, the price of the transaction between the associate undertaking should be equal and closer to price if such a transaction entered into between the independent parties. If there is a transaction in between the associate parties, right, this transaction price would be equal or similar or closer with the market value, arm's length price. What would be the arm's length price? If any transaction taken place in between the unrelated party, what would be the price? Up to that extent you have to consider on this application. If there is a deviation between these two prices, then there would be a adjustment for the transfer pricing, right. There is a different applications and identified what would be the deviations. Up to 3% plus minus is allowed on the provisions, right. But if it is not so, then there should be adjustment. Right. Therefore, the transfer pricing is like a different and specific area, right. Then those things actually should be differently we have to consider, but on this syllabus it is not much concern, very basic areas you have to have some knowledge, right. Then you should have some sort of idea about what is mean of associate undertaking. Person shall be a associate enterprise of another enterprise if one person participate directly or indirectly or through one or more intermediary in management, control and capital of the other person, then it can be taken as an associate undertaking. If there is a transfer pricing is applicable, right, then if there is any transaction between the associate company, if transaction value is increased with the threshold limit, as present it keep as a 200 million. If their transaction is one type of transaction increase 200 million in between the associate company, right, this particular company should be submit the transfer pricing disclosure form by as a part of the income tax return, right. Then those form and all that is attached as annexures, right, but you can just run through and get some idea, but it is not remember each and details in the forms and return, right. The simple idea about the transfer pricing. Then with that concern actually we can conclude theory discussions and revisions application for company taxation on English medium, right. Then later on our next video we supposed to discuss about the one particular question, right. With that questions include the many adjustment from the business and company related taxation point of view, right. Then we calculate the comprehensive calculations, right. On we know that your exam paper is not focused for the comprehensive calculation, but without that comprehensive calculation, right, then you may not have in the proper understand how it has happened. With that calculation, right, then we discuss about the various important and specific areas. Those are maybe focus area for the MCQ questions, and finally we can prepare the total answer. With that, preparing with this answer, right, definitely you can have good understand about the company taxation. With that concern, we conclude this session. Again we can meet up with next session to discuss about the calculation of the companies. Thank you.